What's up, y'all? It's Ty. In this video today, we're going to be going over ranking each and every one of the Galaxy Opals that we have seen thus far in NBA 2K on A tier list from S tier all the way to F tier. Now, what does it look like? We've got, I don't know, maybe 15-ish Opals so far released in the game. And again, a lot of these Opals I personally think are mid. These D-Robs are obviously the same, so I'm just going to be dragging one of them to the end. But that's what we've got so far in this game. As far as your hidden gem Opals, I'm not going to be talking about them in this video specifically, just because honestly, I do not care. Not ranking cards that aren't, easily, I should even say easily, but aren't attainable via the auction house. Now, let's start off today with Jaylen Brown. When you're looking at the best Opals in the game, Jaylen Brown is mid. I'm not hating on Jaylen Brown. I don't want you guys to say, oh, Ty, Jaylen Brown is good, all this. He's fine. Jaylen Brown, fine Opal in this game, fine shooting guard in this game. But when you're looking at like the best Opals or cards that are going to be game changers, that's not Jaylen Brown. He's a fine card that can play the shooting guard position, but his release isn't the best. His defense is fantastic. His size is okay. But it just comes down to this. Offensively, he's mid. And so, to me, he's very, very similar to a guy, and not the exact same, but very similar to a guy like Pink Diamond MJ. Whereas, you know what? The card's okay. He's not horrible, but is he really the shooting guard that you are wanting to run at this stage? Not really. Galaxy Opal Jason Tatum up next. I think I've got to go B tier. I think Jason Tatum is slightly, very slightly better than Jaylen Brown. Still not a card I love. Still not a card that I would spend very much MT on, but he is better than Jaylen Brown. B tier for Jason Tatum. Release-wise, he's fine. He's 6'8", which is fine. Everything's just fine about Jason Tatum. Honestly, pretty similar to Jaylen Brown as, you know what, the card's fine. He's not going to kill you, but he's not, even as good as Pink Diamond LeBron James. And so I think those are the tough things I'm talking about, right? Galaxy Opal Jaylen Brown, not even close to being as good as Julius Erving. Jason Tatum, not even close to being as good as a guy like LeBron James. So how am I supposed to sit up here and hype these cards up to the moon? I just can't. They're okay. Not great. Derrick Rose up next. I'm going to go F tier. I think Derrick Rose might be one of the worst Galaxy Opals that we have this game. Now, it's crazy because Derrick Rose cards used to be fantastic. He used to have, a better release than most cards. He used to, have good animations, those types of things. At this stage, though, guys, D-Rose is not very good. F tier is where I'm going with the card. I see nobody running D-Rose, and honestly, it's for a good reason. The card is not good in this game. Sidney Moncrief is incredible. I'm going to go A tier right now. He might get moved up, though. I'm telling you right now, Sidney Moncrief is one of the best overall point guards in the game. If you've not used Sidney Moncrief, if you've not played against the card, well, guess what? Then your opinion would be invalid because Sidney Moncrief is an absolute stud. The card gets it done at every level, plays great defense, has a fantastic release. Sidney Moncrief is an easy A tier addition. Really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I absolutely love what the card provides me on the court. Obviously, I don't use him because he is way too expensive for my personal team. But he is easy A tier. The best card we've talked about so far on this tier list. Anthony Edwards, D tier. I still think he's better than Derrick Rose, but Ant stinks. I mean, 6'4". At least with Jaylen Brown, he gives you some height on the court. He at least is going to play fantastic defense. With Anthony Edwards, what are you doing? What are you doing on the court? Genuinely, I don't know for Anthony Edwards. I'm going D tier with the card. I don't love what the card does for you on the court. To me, is the definition of mid. Mid for Anthony Edwards. I genuinely do not know what the card does. And I'm a Timberwolves fan. I like Anthony Edwards, but he's got to go in D tier. Jalen Brunson, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm going to go F tier. He's an Opal point guard that I just can't hype up. And if I'm putting Derrick Rose at F tier, well, guess what? Jalen Brunson, you've got to go F tier as well. I don't see it with the card. There's going to be one point guard on this list Now, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to move these cards to D tier because I've got a special trash in my heart for Ray Allen. Ray Allen is F tier. Jalen Brunson, Derrick Rose, you're D tier. You're not good, but you're not F tier. Ray Allen. What are you doing on the court? You're bad defensively. Offensively, you're fine, but like, I'm not gonna sit up here and hype up your mid-release. You are F tier, Ray Allen. You stink. You're dog water. I don't know why they released you in this game thinking it was gonna be a good idea. You are absolutely horrible. You're a horrible, horrible, horrible card. And if anybody is running this Ray Allen, honestly, all I can say is I'm sorry. Ray Allen stinks on this game. Is absolutely not worth picking up for your specific squad. The worst card that we're going to go over and talk about today. And I'm sorry that it's got to be what it's got to be, but it really is that simple, that easy for Ray Allen. There are some good Galaxy Opals, and there are some bad ones like Ray Allen. Vince Carter's one of the good ones. Is he S tier or is he A tier? For me, my initial reaction is put him at S tier. Now, I will say this. I still think Julius Erving is better than Vince Carter. But when we talk about auctionable Galaxy Opals right now in the game, I think Vince is one of the top 2 we've got. And so I'm throwing him at S tier, not going to think twice about it. However, I do not think that he's worth the coins he's going for. And that's a common thing for all of these Galaxy Opals. They are way overpriced in the game. I do think Vince Carter is really good, though, so I'm going to keep him at that S tier. The card's an absolute stud. Dwight Howard, I'm throwing at A tier. I think you could put Dwight at S tier. I just think because his release maybe leaves a little bit to be desired, I'm going to go A tier. But again, I don't hate Dwight Howard at all. I do wish Dwight's release was slightly better. That's maybe my one complaint for the card, but he's got an incredibly wide player model player build. He plays incredible defense. A tier for D12. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. J.R. Smith, you're trash. F tier. I mean, you and Ray Allen are horrible cards on this game. If anybody is running either of those cards, again, I'm sorry for you. I know I've said it before, but it's the truth. I am sorry. Both of those cards absolutely stink. They're absolutely dog water on the game. And honestly, Diamond Danny Green walks circles around both of them. So F tier for Ray Allen, F tier for J.R. Smith. Chris Webber up next. I don't know. Like, Chris Webber is 6'9". His release isn't good. I'm throwing him as C tier. I mean, yes, can he do some things on the floor? For sure. All of these Opals are not that bad. But if you're asking me who I'd rather have on the court, if I have a Galaxy Opal, Jaylen Brown or Chris Webber, I'm saying I don't know. Probably Jaylen Brown. Genuinely. I don't like either of these cards. I think both of these cards leave a lot to be desired. C tier for Chris Webber on this game. D-Rob up next. And I know D-Rob gets a lot of hate, a lot of slander, but I still think he's good enough to at least go A tier. Now, does he go S tier? I think it's close. I think it's close whether you want to put D-Rob at A tier or S tier. But I think A tier honestly is the right spot. Now, let me explain why for a little bit here. He would go S tier if people could consistently green with his release. But he only has center eligibility, which hurts. If he could play power forward, I'd be slightly higher on the card as well. His release leaves a lot to be desired. Most people struggle with the release. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad release. I actually don't mind the release whatsoever. However, a lot of people really don't like the release of D-Rob. So those couple of things obviously do hold the card back a little bit. Again, I'm not saying D-Rob's horrible. I actually don't mind the card whatsoever. It just comes down to I wish his release was a little bit better because a lot of people really struggle with D-Rob's release and a lot of people really hate D-Rob's release, to be honest with you. And again, I don't hate D-Rob whatsoever. I actually think the card is really good. But I'm just telling you why people have a little bit of a hold up when it comes down to D-Rob on this game. Next up, we do see Anthony Davis, power forward center. He is an S tier caliber of card. AD is absolutely elite, absolutely fantastic on this game. There's nothing you can really say bad about AD. Plays incredible defense. His release, and here's the thing for Anthony Davis. His release is so easy to time and easy to green. That's one thing that, D-Rob doesn't do. Dwight has a way slower release. And so, no, AD is not worth the coins he goes for. But I do think when you're looking at Anthony Davis, his release is way, it's way easier than D-Rob's. And I think it really is that simple because, again, when I'm comparing, an Anthony Davis to David Robinson, D-Rob's taller, but AD has power forward eligibility. AD's release, in my opinion, is way smoother. He's got to go S tier. Now, again, I don't think he's worth the amount of coins he's going for. But if you don't have him at S tier, I don't know. I think it's pretty tough. Next up, we do see Donovan Mitchell. I don't hate Donovan Mitchell. Honestly, I'm throwing him at B tier, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, but all I'm going to do is ask you guys to hear me out with Donovan Mitchell. Couple of things that I want you guys to at least just listen to. If you disagree with me, that's okay, but just hear me out with Donovan Mitchell. Number one, the card is 6'3". I believe he's 6'3". Some Donovan Mitchells are 6'1". This card, I do believe, I'd have to, let me double check, but I believe this card is 6'3". Another thing, he has a wide player model player build. Defensively is nearly max for Donovan Mitchell. I've played against Donovan Mitchell in Park, against the card, and trust me, there's one guy that uses him that absolutely boxes everything I'm trying to do. Yes, this card is 6'3", hot spots from everywhere around the arc, 15 Hall of Famers, 98 speed, 98 agility. There's not a whole ton of negatives for Donovan Mitchell. The card is an absolute beast, in my opinion. He's tough to say is not great. Again, I love what Donovan Mitchell does do on the floor. I think he is one of your better, honestly, one of your better point guards in the entire game. To me, just an absolute stud in this game. I'm throwing him at B tier. That's going to wrap it up for our Galaxy Opal tier list today. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. Who is that too high on, too low on? And ultimately, is there any card that you're like, Ty, you really missed that one? Let me know. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys. Have a blessed day.